Dr. Johnson was the founder and chief executive of a private student loan company, Reunion Student Loan Financing Corporation, before assuming his official role of the department. Is that correct?
That probably is correct.
Yes, it is.
Let me just interject. And
I would like to continue.
And I would like to make clear that
we'll give you some time. I will get to it. Thank you so much.
The individual you have referred to is not part of the acquisition or procurement team.
Okay.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So you just saw the opening of this exchange. What we have here is a classic example of political theater. Representative Ilhan Omar comes out swinging, trying to set up this big gotcha moment against then Secretary of Education, Betsy Devos. On the surface, it sounds serious. She's throwing around terms like conflict of interest and billions of taxpayer dollars. But what you're about to see is a masterclass in how to handle an ambush. Devos remains calm and professional while Omar's entire argument slowly crumbles under the weight of simple facts. It's actually pretty incredible to watch. We're going to play the full clip, and then we'll break down exactly how Secretary Devos not only defended her position, but completely turned the tables on the narrative Omar was trying to spin. If you enjoy seeing political gamesmanship fall flat, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's get into it.
Thank you, Chairman. Madam Secretary, countless news sources have reported on the conflict of interest that run rampant through your top aides, especially those advising you on higher ed and loan servicing. When responding to questions about these conflicts, you have failed to adequately convince Congress and the American people that these conflicts do not interfere with the billions of taxpayer dollars flowing from education to corporate interest. Today, I would like to better understand your decisions for selecting aides and ensuring that their conflicts do not harm taxpayers. Last May, 4 of my colleagues on this committee sent your General Counsel a request for information about conflict of interest surrounding your $2 billion next-gen loan servicing solicitation. Given that this solicitation is given, I would like some information about the team that's leading it. Does Dr. A. Wade Johnson, is he the one that's spearheading this solicitation?
Dr. Johnson is head of the Next Gen Initiative.
All right. According to New York Times investigation, Dr. Johnson was the founder and chief executive of a private student loan company, Reunion Student Loan Financing Corporation, before assuming his official role of the department. Is that correct?
That probably is correct.
Yes, it is.
Let me just interject. And
I would like to continue.
And I would like to make clear that
we'll give you some time. I will get to it. Thank you so much. Dr. Johnson was also the executive at the two financial services companies, First Data Corporation and TSYS. Additionally, Dr. Johnson was hired at least one other TSYS veteran, Mr. Patrick Fox. Have any of Dr. Johnson's previous employers bid on elements of next-gen solicitation?
Congresswoman, all of my staff, all of my team at the Department of Education and Federal Student Aid has gone through their ethics process, has taken and takes their ethics obligations very seriously. We don't have conflicts, and we will not be conflicted. We have continued to have a robust screening process, and can stand and be very resolute about that.
So given that there is about $2 billion per year in taxpayer dollars flowing through this program, will you commit to releasing communication between the procurement team and any of Dr. Johnson's former employees?
So all of the procurement is walled off from the rest.
That would just be yes or no. Would you be committed to releasing any communication between Dr. Johnson and his employees?
Not to releasing internal communication, but the procurement team is walled off from the rest of the team, and the procurement process is very definitely prescribed as to how it has to happen.
That has not clearly answered my question. The federal acquisition regulations have a section on conflict of interest. It states, the general rule is to avoid strictly any conflict of interest or even the appearance of conflict of interest in government contract relations. While many federal laws and regulations place restrictions on actions of government personnel, their official conduct must, in addition, be such that they would not have no reluctance to make a full public disclosure of their actions. You seem to have reluctance to make a full public disclosure of the actions of the head of the department's largest single procurement team, despite there being obvious appearance of conflict of interest. How is your denial to release communication in line with extremely high conflict of interest standards that's required by federal law?
The individual you have referred to is not part of the acquisition or procurement team.
Okay. But we need the communication that is happening between the procurement team and the employers of Dr. Johnson.
That process is walled off from any other process.
All right, so you've seen the whole thing. Let's unpack this because a lot just happened. First, you have to recognize Rep. Omar's strategy. She isn't here to gather information. She's here to create a viral moment. She starts by making a broad, sweeping accusation based on countless news sources without citing a single one. This is a classic tactic designed to put her opponent on the defensive from the very beginning. She's essentially saying, everyone already thinks you're corrupt, now prove you're not. Then she zeroes in on one person, Dr. A. Wayne Johnson. She reads his resume as if it's a criminal record. She points out that he worked for private financial companies before his government role. But think about that for a second. Who would you rather have leading a multi-billion-dollar loan servicing initiative? A career bureaucrat with no real-world experience, or someone who actually understands the industry inside and out? Her accusation is that he's qualified for the job. It's a bizarre line of attack. Now, let's talk about how Secretary DeVos handled it. She didn't get rattled. She didn't get angry. She just calmly and repeatedly stated the facts. When Omar tried to interrupt her, DeVos held her ground and made her point. She explained that every single person on her team, including Dr. Johnson, goes through a rigorous ethics process. This is the official procedure. She didn't get dragged into the mud about one person's employment history. She elevated the conversation to the actual policies and procedures in place that prevent the very thing Omar is accusing them of. That's how you handle a loaded question. But here is the real turning point. This is where the whole thing falls apart for Rep. Omar. When she realizes the direct conflict of interest charge isn't sticking, she shifts gears and starts quoting the federal acquisition regulations about avoiding even the appearance of a conflict. This is what politicians do when they don't have facts. They argue about feelings and appearances. She demands that Devos release internal communications, trying to frame her as secretive. And then, Secretary DeVos delivers the knockout blow. It's so simple and so devastating. She just says, the individual you have referred to is not part of the acquisition or procurement team. Boom. Mic drop. The entire foundation of Ilhan Omar's 5-minute attack was built on the idea that Dr. Johnson was in a position to steer contracts to his old friends. With that one sentence, DeVos revealed that he wasn't even on the team that handles the contracts. He couldn't have done what Omar was implying even if he wanted to. You can see Omar is completely thrown off. She has nowhere to go. Her only response is to say, well, the public believes there is a conflict of interest. It's a stunning moment. She's basically admitting that her argument has no basis in fact, so she's falling back on a public perception that she herself was trying to create just moments earlier. In the end, this wasn't a hearing. It was a failed political hit job. Secretary DeVos showed up prepared, stayed on message, and used facts to dismantle a narrative built on insinuation. It was a textbook example of grace under pressure. What do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching.